This is All India Radio. Life must go on. All India Radio, in collaboration with Vigyan-Prasar, presents science serial Life Must Go On, based on understanding and managing sustainable development. Let's listen to the episode number 43rd, which is an interactive program based on listeners' letters.
It's a privilege welcoming three distinguished gentlemen to the studios today for this very special program. With me is Dr. Sunil Agrawal. He's a senior scientist with the Department of Science and Technology. Dr. A.S. Nenave is advisor in the Department of Biotechnology. And of course, Dr. B.K. Tyagi is from Vigyan-Prasar. Gentlemen, just a few days ago, we observed, or rather celebrated, the World Water Day. And that brings to mind, things connected with water. Possibly, we'll also try to touch upon issues like, or subjects like marine ecosystems, then broader topics like sustainability through bioresources, then how science and society have an interrelation, how things like livelihood are associated with certain aspects of science. So overall, sustainability, conservation, and services provided by ecosystems. Dr. Tyagi, am I correct in my assessment of the entire gamut of topics that we are expected to discuss today?
Yeah. Definitely, because this was the complete segment, which we have around 7 to 8 episodes we have broadcast already, based on those themes which you have just told me. And this was the one component of the whole series of 52 episodes, because when this serial was on theme sustainable development, and the management of natural resources is very important because it is directly connected with the sustainability aspect of if we have to survive on this planet Earth. Specifically the biodiversity, the living resources we are talking about, because the way we have consuming the natural resources, whether physical resources or the bioresources, we have found that pattern of consumption is not sustainable in the future. We'll be left with nothing. So we have to change our, the consumption pattern.
Okay, my first question before we move on to, valuing our natural resources. For an average student of science, there may be some students to whom a basic question comes to mind: what exactly are our natural resources? And after that, the question of valuing them, conserving them will come. What are our natural resources?
See, whether it is a land or the sea or the marine, whatever may be, ultimately, these are the resources. India is a country where great diversity is there. Not only culture and the tradition, but also in our tropical, we have different tropical climates. There are 15 agroclimatic zones. We were once upon a time very specific in this region what crop can be cultivated, what species can be taken up, whether it is a prawn or fish or aquaculture or whatever may be. But now, due to changing climatic conditions, we have a lot of difficulty. The species are migrating, species are depleting, and because of global warming. So these are all very serious issues. At the same time, overexploitation is there. At the same time, exotic species have been entered into our water bodies. They are vanishing our original species. At the same time, there are kind of, pollution. Because we use so much fertilizers, use chemical fertilizers, biopesticides, that has also added into it. Even plastic is a very serious issue these days. If you see the sea, you would have wonder to miss, it is a very horrible, you can see that the sea is polluted like anything, and the water is not available, and the water is kind of things. So biodiversity, if you see, now government is proposing these days very important concept, that is blue economy. As you said, initial introduction, what are the things, livelihood kind of things? Unless we are serious on these things, we make it what happened, sea to land journey. What is being available with us, sustainable production, biodiversity, maintaining things, harvest only up to that level which is permissible. Make the sea ranching, make the sea to grow, because we allow foreign vessels, they come, they reap the things and take away. So we should have a strict guidelines for that. We do have, but it is not being followed. At when the fish at the breeding stage, it should not be harvested unless they make them grow and up to cultivable size, and then only. Otherwise, stock will be depleting. So these are the serious issues, and when harvest is being made, the coastal people, the marine side people, which they are living over there, because 14 million people are based on the coast. So whether it is a seaweed or prawn or fish or shellfish or whatever the marine products, they need to be trained in such a fashion, and the awareness should be made. When it is being harvested, it should be taken through kind of approach. There should be a approach road, there should be a vessel for picking up, there should be processing units. So local opportunities need to be created, local market is to be created. So all these things are very important. Even how to have a tie-up with the river ecosystem, marine ecosystem, brackish water ecosystem, what kind of industry can sustain, what kind of avenues can be developed for them, and then only it will be a very, very important thing that we would be able to do something and the economy can be grown. It is not that only, we need to have a kind of teamwork, we need to have a collaborative effort with the neighboring countries, because coast and the sea, it is not our own property, but there are demarcation that one cannot go beyond 200 meters to catch the fish and all that.
Ultimately, it's
And
about larger humanity.
Larger mandate. So I think biodiversity conservation is very important. We should do.
That was Dr. A.S. Ninave taking a bird's eye view on basic natural resources. Dr. Sunil Agrawal, livelihood is one thing that, of course, is part of the entire chain or the entire system. When we talk of livelihood, are there certain practices that are more sustainable than other practices which we should incorporate in our various spheres of life?
You are perfectly right that local livelihoods, actually biodiversity conservation, if you see locally or globally, these are some communities are there which were the custodian of protecting the biodiversities. But what Tyagi ji and Inave sir is saying, bioresource based economy. Now we are talking about the bioresource based economy, and sustainability is the another issues. And now Forest Right Act is also there. Dependency of community is also another issue. So that is we are looking for alternative livelihoods, how to reduce the dependency of those communities, because we have to address conservation and livelihood both together.
There's a fine balance.
Yes, we find balance between that. That requires some interventions which at the ministry level and the concerned departments and other agencies, developmental agencies are taking some initiatives by using some technologies. Of course, what you are saying, it is the building the local capacities, traditional knowledge, skill, and adding value to that. With the current knowledge hubs across the country we have, and that required some local institutional arrangements. Because R&D labs, they have the technologies, but efforts are there which you made in initial remark, science and society. So those efforts are there, and those linkages we are exploring to create some technology models like that.
Okay, Tyagiji, just briefly, I mean, both the gentlemen elaborated very well on the concerned issue. Dr. Agrawal mentioned about, localizing it in a way. Vigyan-Prasar, of course, is known for reaching out to a certain strata of the grassroots level, and that is young people who are connected with science. So has Vigyan-Prasar taken any special initiative in this particular regard, natural resources, bioresources?
Yeah, see, Vigyan-Prasar is mainly like trying to connect the science with the people at information level or awareness level through different modes and media and hands-on activity. In that case, we have initiated certain program because the status or the situation of natural resources is not very good. It has been reflected at many places, and the consequences are there. Now the question is what the Sunil is saying. We have to keep a balance, because one side we have to see the economic growth that has to, the way the policy is saying that the growth rate should be at a particular level, and at the same time when we are saying like we have to balance the economy with the environment and the social development, what the sustainable development goal is talking about, to which India is also a signatory. And now this is the most difficult task. See, when we are talking about in terms of industrialization, developing infrastructure and all that, which one way or the other way till now has created a not very positive effect on the environment, or it has you can say created a great divide socially also. So now the question is how to balance that, because we say the people initially, they were majority of our population was engaged in agriculture, where the food security and biodiversity issue, what Sunil is saying is they were the custodian of that biodiversity, which now is changing because the agriculture patterns are changing, the land use is changing, and the multinationals are entering into the agriculture sector, and more an S&T in terms of seeds, fertilizers, and the tools and techniques which is coming up. So in all that scenario means like keeping a balance between the two, I don't know, is going to be a challenge. So, but we have to inform the people, because we have to take a very, very informed decision by selecting a technology or selecting a practice, or going for a particular option.
And especially young people.
Young people, because they have to come into the planning process also at the one or the other stage. So building up that sensitivity towards the concepts like the social equality, their environment, and the third aspect is economic development. So it's no more only the economic development which remain the prime objective of a national economy. So the economic development has to balance itself with these two aspects also, that is the environment and the social equality.
I'd like to come back to Dr. Ninave. When we talk of marine ecosystems, two questions that immediately crop up, even through normal newspaper reading. Two things that strike us are mangroves and corals. Now, as a curious, if I were a student, I would directly ask you, I mean, what is the role played by mangroves and corals, and why are they so important?
I think it is a very important question. Mangroves are the breeding ground for the fish. But we could see in the big cities, they have been removed and the land has been made by the multinational people for the construction and all that, buildings and all that. So without mangroves, see what is happening, tsunami and all kinds of things. It is all because of we remove mangroves and we are unable to cope up with the pressure of the sea when tsunami and other kind of earthquakes comes, sea earthquakes I mean to say. So they are basically a breeding ground. They sustain at a very high salinity and they have many things to protect us, especially all these from these problems which I said. And without, if our stock is depleted because of fish can't breed, we won't be able to do anything. Apart from that, I just wanted to supplement what our friend said. That is, about, popularization, dissemination of the knowledge, technology and all that. So, social awareness is there, not from our hills. People have been asking today, there are social awareness has been created, how to save our hills and the kind of resources from that, because they are also depleting. At the same time, in the mainland it is depleting, river resources are depleting, sea resources are depleting. So, to save the sea, there are movements abroad. But that kind of concept has not come in India. You see all kind of Ursol Institute, United States, and there are one more institutes, Scripps Institute. They have been propagating all these things. How
one wonders if that happens more because policy making happens more often than not in the hinterland than in coastal places. Is it so?
No, it is because, we may be lacking somewhere in our approach. It should be given, So, you remember, once upon a time, moral education was not the part of the school curriculum. Environmental sciences was not the part of the curriculum sciences. But lately we recognize how environment is important in our day-to-day life. Now, unless we make people to understand what is sea and what are our basic importance because of the sea, we cannot sustain, So all these things, how this sea or river or the resources on the hill are important. Then only will be. If it is degraded, plants are degraded, oxygen will be depletion, species will not sustain. and primary producer, secondary producer, and all kind of things will be affecting.
Yeah.
So we need all these things to be taken care on these things.
Because this corals and mangroves are considered to be the repository of marine biodiversity. Because mangroves are, you can say, the link between the freshwater and the seawater. So there are certain marine species which can hatch only in that condition. If we don't have that, because it forms its own ecosystem, and if that ecosystem is because of that mangrove vegetation, then this we will be losing forever those species. So that's why, like, it's very important to maintain, and also it play like this corals play a very important role in calcium cycle. If how much the calcium which they are depositing, if it's released into the water marine system, I think the entire ecosystem of marine will be changed, and I don't think then it will be possible to survive in that kind of water, because the pH will rise and with high calcium and all that. So this all component has a very, very balancing and important role in sustaining the ecosystem or the life form or the marine life. So
It'll be a disaster.
Disaster. Yeah.
See, Ministry of Earth Science has reported 13,000 species, marine and coastal areas, and most of them are getting depleted because we have no watch on them, and we are not going to, we have judicious efforts on that. Unless we take care of, breeding them seriously, and many of them are at the depletion stage. I tell you, the Western Ghats and the northeastern region, more than 3,000 species, ornamental fishes. If we can breed them, we can get lot of income by these self-help groups and the people and the community. Let me tell you throughout, as he said about our Tyagi, about popularization. We have a program on biotech-based program for societal development.
Okay.
Under that, we take all these, whether it is marine or the terrestrial or the coastal, whatever maybe. We are bringing biodiversity conservation, making people to understand what is what, how to conserve, how to take care, how much is to be utilized, sustainable utilization, and how to breed the fish, what new species can be bred, what are those depleted species can be recovered. So all these things, program awareness, training, demonstration, so that it can be a livelihood for the community, whether this side or that side, or whether for the north or the eastern, based on the species they sustain. So it is a very important program, and we have a very good delivery. Almost by today, I must say, more than 5,000, 6,000 people have been trained.
In response to Dr. Tyagi's observation, I used the word, when he mentioned pH levels, I said disaster. Now, the word disaster again brings to mind a very important point, and that is disaster risk reduction, which is mitigating effects of disasters like floods, droughts, etc. Dr. Agrawal, are we doing enough to address the issue, or much more needs to be done?
No, you see, this disaster, man-made or natural, what is happening, it is going on, and we have the data, modelings are happening. But ultimately, who is getting affected? The point is that the communities who are residing there, and modeling indicates only melting is there or such things are happening. But ultimately, what we see that maybe in the mountain you can see each year cloud burst or such things happens. But how best we are making them prepare at the local level, and the building the capacities in terms of technologies. We look for the disaster resistance houses. We look for them better livelihood opportunities, and what kind of tragedy they are facing, the real life problems. Even what Tyagi is saying, that sustainable development goals also 1, 2 or 10 or 15 for biodiversity. So these are the issues which really we have to think and we have to act. And on those lines also, what Ninnaveji is saying about the such models which department is trying, we are also evolving such models, how to address such issues, and that we are doing by linking institutions that scientific knowledge have and local institution, maybe science-based field groups who have some infrastructure, some capabilities, and like-minded pupils, and that this is a combined or a consultative approach, and that is on the ground. And then scaling of the technologies. Scaling means what is the requirement. I give you very simple examples in terms of alternative livelihood. One of the group which DBT biotechnology is also involved, EST is also involved. Himalayan Environmental Study Conservation Group, that is in the specifically working on the mountains, and they have worked on this traditional crops, because we are also now looking, you are saying the climate related problems are coming and hunger is another problem, and we look for the nutritive crops which communities were developing, cultivars were coming. So they have come out to develop some of the value added products. And there we have tried to link our national institutions like CFTRI Mysore and HESCO. So they have come out with complete protocols to make some offerings that women group can make on their own, from quality production to final packaging, with technical backup and support. So these are the initiative, local resources, local skills. That's what I am repeating again. We have to build the capacity at the local level. We are talking about the bio-resources based economy. That is the national level priorities are there. But local priorities are also required. Local bioeconomy, how to strengthen, and that should be in sustainable way. So that is the another point. If we look for such disaster which are happening or climate related problems are coming, but we have to see what tradition was there, what are the efforts made by our communities, what were the knowledge systems, and how we can add the value and come with such solutions which really empower those people who are getting affected.
I think Dr. Sunil has said very nicely. I just wanted to supplement what the HESCO has done. We have a very great network program on the Prasad kit. When you go to different temples, there is tradition. This is to be offered to in kind churches or in mandirs or in
Chardham Yatra.
Chardham Yatra. But we have taken this program in a whole India basis, from Devi to south, and in churches and many more places, even dargahs, Ajmer. So whatever is being available locally there, whether it is a flower, whether it is a preparing for a basket. Even we take something, the local material.
That is Ringal they are
Yeah. So they will be using it. And from the local kutki,
millets.
Whatever, millets.
Local millets, yeah.
Local
Yes,
millets.
local
They prepare
millets.
laddus and other kind of things, and that kind
that's,
of prasad,
in fact, more nutritious than...
more nutritious.
And
more
even
nutritious.
with better self-life also.
Better self-life.
Because
So it is a local employment got to those self-help group women or men, whatever may be, and marketing, and they have a tie-up with the market, and good income they have been doing. It is very sustainable program and created a sustained livelihood for the community. For the last 10 years we have been seeing it from all the north to east and east to south, most of the places.
The more we discuss, Tyagiji, what strikes as surprising is the fact that solutions are not all that rocket science.
No, it's not. It's not.
so surprising.
It's so surprising. I think it requires some amount of introspection and rationalizing our old traditional knowledge system with the latest one. I'll give you example what both of my friends has said, just to supplement that rice. India staple diet is rice. Majority of people eat rice, and we used to have more than 50,000 varieties of rice. Imagine rice is grown in J&K where the temperature is very low, and rice is grown in Kerala where the temperature is almost remain the same. So that variety is different. So, and India has more than 10 climatic zone, which we generally read in our geography book, and every region is growing rice, but all the varieties are different. But last few years, more than 20 years, we have introduced hybrid variety. Now only that cultivation of rice at a commercial level is confined only to 20 variety. So which is very risky, which is a threat to the food security. Suppose if it's infected with certain disease, the whole, the crop will be wiped out. But if we have those local variety which has they are climatically very, very resistant to that situation, they are pest resistant and all that. So I think we need that balancing, and that will come only when we are aware of that. It's not only the profit making but sustainability element also, and the concern for the climate.
No,
also.
that is where we see now as a social enterprise, Not we are looking only the profit. When we are talking about the communities or at the countryside, for our population, whether coastal or whether in mountain areas or in the desert areas, we look to improve their quality of life as a services, reducing the drudgery in their day-to-day life. At least they should have a better quality of life. of course, income will be there or better employment opportunities or livelihood. So we see now in such developmental programs, which Vigyan-Prasar, DST or DBT we are doing, or other departments are making efforts, we should look as a social enterprise now. So that will really help if we have to serve the community and we have to see the balances for the ecosystem services and for the communities and for the people in the mainland.
But to the multinational companies is a dominating factor. It is not that we don't have traditional knowledge, we don't have that kind of knowledge to get the product done. But sometimes, as you said, value addition or that quantity of nutritional requirement or shelf life and all that, we are not matching with the requirement of the branded items, and that may be the reason. So how it is to be? Otherwise, our people, they have intellectual knowledge, whether it is a rural people or a urban people, but that need to be tapped nicely, and it is our responsibility, it is our all funding agencies and the research organization to think about how best we can bring these local community with the help of the R&D institutions and make them aware how it is to be done. The youths which have been unemployed today, that they can be dragged into this instead of seeking for the white collar job, and they should think what is the entrepreneurship development, skill development, and they should be made how to get self-sustained. They will be a very powerful tool in today's time to have this country great.
Dr. Ninave, you mentioned entrepreneurship, and you also mentioned an example set by HESCO. Tyagiji, we are running short of time now. It was definitely a stimulating discussion, but one major portion of our special program is also the response that we have received from our listeners. And to touch a few, there's not much time to
read, but we can read out few names, and there are few, I can say that besides the letter which we have received, we received a lot of emails also. So I'm just reading few names. This is Rajesh Kumar Mishra, and the other one is Atma, and then Pappu Kumar. One is Lavkesh Kumar Rajput. This we have also received his answer. And the other one is this Hemant Kumar, Himanshu Yadav, and Anam Darshi Mashi, and Mohan Babu, Rajiv Kumar, and Sahil. Then this is Rahul Kumar, Sonu, and many more.
Gentlemen, it was very nice discussing such crucial issues related to our own existence, if I may say so. Dr. Ninave, Dr. Agrawal, Dr. Tyagi, thank you very much for sparing time to come to the studios of All India Radio, and I'm sure our listeners will benefit from this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Life must go on. You were listening to the 43rd episode of this science serial produced by All India Radio in collaboration with Vigyan-Prasar, which is an interactive program based on listeners' letters. Experts were Dr. A.S. Ninave, Advisor, Department of Biotechnology, Dr. Sunil Agrawal, Senior Scientist, Department of Science and Technology, Government of India, Dr. Birendra Kumar Tyagi, Vigyan-Prasar. Moderator was Manoj Mayankar. This program was produced by Dilip Kumar Jha and assisted by Diksha Sharma. You can send your advice by simple post. Our address is Science Serial, Life Must Go On, All India Radio, room number 615, New Broadcasting House, Sansad Marg, New Delhi, 110001. You can also write on our email ID, radio@vigyanprasar.gov.in. Please do write or mail us your full name, age and profession. If associated with Science Club, do let us know the membership of your club. If you have any query or question, don't hesitate to write to us. We'll be back again with the next episode of this science serial. Same day, same time next week. Till then, goodbye.